play with it.
You're on? Okay. All right. Good morning and welcome to the May 7th, 2025 City Planning Commission meeting. The commissioners look forward to hearing your case as we understand every project is important and unique. In addition, we want to make sure we address all of the docketed items individually with the attention they need to build consensus between the applicant, public, and city staff. Our meeting will follow the advertised docket and we'll hear the cases in order they are listed, beginning with the consent agenda, followed by the regular docketed items. The commissioners believe we can reach consensus by being brief yet heard. Because our meeting is virtual and recorded, we have time limits for the cases we hear, which is 5 minutes for staff presentations and 20 minutes for the applicant, plus any questions by the commissioners. When we move to public comment, we will call on those who have joined us in person first, followed by those who have joined us virtually. Public comments are limited to 2 minutes when speaking as an individual or up to 5 minutes when representing a community association or a larger group. Please be brief and limit repetitive comments. Those of you that are joining us virtually, please be ready to go when it's your turn and your name is called. Have your video camera on and your screen name correctly displayed. This helps us make sure that we get your testimony for the record. So as we get started, I ask staff to provide additional ground rules and instructions as we conduct this meeting to ensure minimal disruption and maximum clarity. So Sarah, can you remind us of those rules, please?
Yes, I will describe the testimony procedures for our hybrid meeting today. First, for those joining us online, please know that there are 2 categories of people participating in the meeting, attendees and panelists. Right now, the only panelists are the commission members and city staff. If you are an applicant or a member of the public who is interested in a case, please use the raise hand function when the case is announced to let staff know that you would like to speak. There is a ribbon at the bottom of your Zoom screen with a hand icon. Please click this to raise your hand to request to speak on a case. You will need to accept the promotion to panelist in order to speak. It may appear temporarily as if you have been disconnected, but don't panic. You will reconnect shortly. If you are calling in on a phone line, your screen name appears as your phone number. You can raise your hand to speak when the case is called by pressing star followed by the number 9. When you are promoted to panelist, the chair would like for you to turn on your camera so that the commission can see you when it is your time to speak. Your microphone needs to always be on mute unless you are giving testimony at the appropriate time. When you are called upon, you will be able to share your screen to display exhibits. You will be given 2 minutes to testify, or 5 minutes if you represent an organization such as a neighborhood association, HOA, CID, or business association. The chat box is only for questions about the agenda. Merits of each case should not be discussed in the chat box. For everyone joining us today in person, applicants may be seated at the center desk when the case is announced. Members of the public who would like to speak may approach the microphone on the podium when it is appropriate to give testimony. If you are in person, there is no need for you to be on the Zoom meeting as well, and joining the meeting in both manners causes a lot of unnecessary feedback and audio disruptions. We ask that you please keep your devices on silent and be quiet when entering and exiting the hearing room. Those are our procedures for today.
Okay, thank you. Let's go ahead and start with the consent docket.
The consent docket begins with item C1, case CD CPC 2025-51, a request to approve a project plan to approve private open space tracts for a residential development in District R1.5 on about 15 acres generally located at Northwest Millray Drive and Northwest 83rd Street. Staff recommends approval with conditions. Item C2 is case CLD Final Plat 2024-25, a request to approve a final plat in District MPD on about 22 acres, generally located at the northeast corner of Highway 169 and Highway 152, to allow for the creation of 80 lots and 4 tracts for the purposes of a residential development. Staff recommends approval with conditions. Item C3 is case CD CPC 2024-146, a request to approve a final plan in District MPD on about 24 acres generally located on the west side of Skyview Avenue, approximately 1,500 feet north of Northwest 108th Street, allowing for the construction of 102 single-unit houses. Staff recommends approval with conditions. Item C4 is case CD CPC 2025-43, a request to approve a project plan for a 33-unit apartment building on about 0.3 acres generally located at 2700 Forest Avenue. Staff recommends continuance without fee to May 21st. And item C5 is case CLD Final Plat 2023-22, a request to approve a final plat in districts B2-2 and R6, creating 32 mixed residential lots and 2 tracts for a total of 409 units on about 25.5 acres, generally located at the northeast corner of Northeast Shoal Creek Parkway and Highway 169. Staff recommends approval with conditions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the commissioners to city staff regarding docket items C1 through C5? Okay, so let's open it up for public testimony here. If there's anybody that would like to speak regarding docket items C1, C2, C3, C4, or C5, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you'll be called upon.
We do have one person online, Patricia Jensen.
Okay,
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, I'm assuming you can hear me. If you can't, let me know. But C5 was supposed to be pulled off the consent agenda because there needs to be a revision to the staff report. I believe that the staff has agreed to drop condition number 21.
good morning.
Good morning, Matthew Barnes, Development Management Division. Let me just share my screen here for docket item number C5. Staff is in agreement with the removal of condition number 21. They have placed the following note, satisfying condition number 21 on the final plat already.
Okay. It's number 21. I thought I heard 20, but
No, it's 21.
okay. Just
So,
making sure.
and just by way of background, this is Brian Mertz is developing these townhomes at Orchards at Shoal Creek, much as he has developed the same townhomes elsewhere in the Northland. And this is how we've handled the utility hookups on all the others. So we've worked out the issue with staff so he can sell those townhomes at such time as he chooses to, but via individual units.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any other, anybody else for public testimony regarding docket items C1 through C5?
There are no other hands raised online.
Okay, any thoughts from the commission on C5 removal of number 21? Any issues there? Okay. All right, with that, let's go ahead and close public testimony and I'll take a motion, please.
Chair Crowley, I move to approve docket items C1, C2, C3 as stated, to continue docket item C4 without fee to May 21st, and to approve docket item C5, removing condition number 21.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second for approval of the consent agenda with changes as stated. Margaret, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Beasley,
Aye.
Prowl,
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Hassick,
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
All right, looks like that motion passes then.
Thank you all.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to our regular agenda items, beginning with those cases that are looking to be continued to a future date.
The continuances begin with item number 9, case CD CPC 2025-17, a request to approve a council-approved signage plan in District MPD on about 2,143 acres, generally located on the north side of I-29 and I-435 and Northwest 128th Street, specifically at the southeast corner of Missouri Route 92 and North Bethel Avenue at the terminus of Mexico City Avenue. Staff recommends continuance without fee to May 21st. Docket item number 10 is case CD CPC 2025-42, a request to approve a major amendment to a previously approved development plan for apartment complexes on the subject site on about 1 acre, generally located at 2702 and 2701 Troost Avenue. Staff requests continuance without fee to May 21st. Docket item number 11 is case CD SUP 2025-12, a request to approve an entertainment venue in District B3-2 on about 0.47 acres, generally located at the southeast corner of Broadway Boulevard and West 39th Street. Staff recommends continuance off docket with fee. Item 12.1 is case CD CPC 2025-49, a request to approve an area plan amendment to the Hickman Mills area plan from residential low density to mixed-use neighborhood on about 4.86 acres generally located at the northeast corner of Blue Ridge Boulevard and East 102nd Street. Item 12.2 is case CD CPC 2025-50, a request to approve a rezoning without plan from District O2 to District B1-2 on about 4.86 acres generally located at the northeast corner of Blue Ridge Boulevard and East 102nd Street. Staff recommends continuance of both items without fee to May 21st. And docket item number 13 is case CD CPC 2025-39, a request to approve a rezoning from Districts B3-2 and R1.5 to District UR with an associated plan on about 2.6 acres generally located on the west side of Prospect Avenue, approximately 100 feet south of East 35th Street, allowing for the redevelopment for warehousing and distribution. Staff recommends continuance without fee to May 21st.
Okay, any questions from the commission regarding continuance of docket items 9 through 13? All right, with that, let's open it up for any public testimony. If there's anybody out there that would like to discuss the continuance of docket items 9, 10, 11, 12.1, 12.2, or 13, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you'll be called upon.
There are no hands raised online.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and close public testimony then, and I'll take a motion, please.
Chair Crowley, I move to continue docket items 9, 9, 11, 12.1, 12.2, and 13 as stated in the docket, and to continue docket item 10 without fee to May 21st.
Second.
I've got a motion and second for continuance of docket items 9 through 13 as stated. So Margaret, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Beasley,
Aye.
Crowell,
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Hasek,
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Looks like the motion passes then. Okay, let's go to our regular docketed items. Do we want to, because the docket items 1 and 2 are very similar, and can we do those at the same time, please?
Yes, I will call both of those. Docket item number 1 is case CD ROW 2025-5, a request to approve a vacation in District R7.5 on about 0.14 acres, generally located on East 52nd Terrace, approximately 1,050 feet west of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. Item number 2 is case CD ROW 2025-4, a request to approve a vacation in District MPD on about 1.25 acres, generally located on White Avenue, approximately 1,250 feet north of East 56th Street.
Okay, so we want to start with this letter first?
That is public testimony that was provided by an adjacent neighbor who will be speaking. He is online currently.
Okay, the request is to continue this cases off docket.
That is their request.
So if that's something that's being requested, I'd rather take care of that now before we do testimony, because we may not know we have the quorum down the road, just to make sure. So we could either continue it up if that's what the commission wants to do now, or I don't want to wait till after we've taken testimony and then you got a quorum established at that time. So in front of commissioners here, you've got a letter from I think Lawrence Goldblatt, requesting that these two docketed items be continued off docket for stated reasons within their letter. I'll give you a few minutes to read through this if you like, and then we can discuss whether or not agree with this to continue the case or go ahead and move forward with hearing it. Sir, have you had a chance to look at this?
Forwarded to me, so no, I just received it.
It was submitted to us this morning.
Okay. So they're citing case law and whether or not this is even in court right now, but I don't, at the same time, it doesn't seem like it is in court or anything like that.
Fortunately, I just got it, so I haven't had time to digest this.
Sure.
Um, what I would say is, I don't think this would prevent the commission.
Okay.
Or it went to council, so.
Okay. Commission okay with that, to move forward with the cases anyways, even with this request? Okay. All right, let's move forward then on these two docketed items that have been opened up, and we'll go from there. Thank you.
Okay, good morning. Matthew Barnes, City Planning and Development, with docket items number 1 and 2 for vacations of right-of-way at Halo Village. There we go. The site is located in the eastern portion of Kansas City, just north of Swope Park there. Here's a closer view yet. You can see Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard to the north and east of the site. And the site is for Halo Village. I'll go into a little bit of history into the site in a minute. So in 2021, the applicant gained approval of a master plan development and subsequently got approval of a MPD final plan in 2021. In 2022, they submitted a final plat and have been doing the public infrastructure since then. This year, we were contacted by the surveyor who noted that White Avenue and East 52nd Street that run within this plat were dedicated, but there are no records existing that they were ever vacated. They do not show up on our parcel viewer, but we have no records that they were ever vacated. Here is the site plan that was approved by the master plan development. They are keeping to the eastern side of the portion of the lot. They have no plans to disturb the other portion of the lot. So basically what you see built is the area that will be built, and everything else is no plans to disturb that area. So this is a 2014 view looking west from East 52nd Terrace. There is no current street views of the improvements. If you do go out to MLK Boulevard, you are able to see that photos of the construction from 2024. This area has been improved, and the applicant has been working with Public Works on those improvements. For docket item number 1, they are vacating the shown portion here of East 52nd Terrace. They will be dedicating with their final plat a full turnaround at the end of their drive of 52nd Terrace. And here's just a view showing where that is. So the area circled in blue is the area they are requesting vacation of. After the final plat is completed, they will be dedicating that turnaround at the end of the street. This is docket item number 2, the vacation of White Avenue. Here's just a view looking north on White Avenue. You can see that it is currently blocked off. It is still public right away north of that, but there is no access. There is a utility company that has their facilities there and has gated off that public street. And that they are not affiliated with the applicant. Here's just kind of a view. You can see in red there is the gate location. And then White Avenue comes to kind of a point there before getting to their property. It is platted through their property as shown in the next slide, but like I said, there's no evidence it's ever vacated. This is the survey showing that southern property line there and it going through their site. And here's that overlay showing what's to be vacated. You can see it's not improved at all. It is heavily treed. They have no plans to disturb that area, and it's not accessible currently because of the gate and it's just treed. Just a little background on this site. You can see prior to annexation from Kansas City, it was this area was platted, and White Avenue did go up and over to, at that time, the state highway to Eastwood Hills Golf Club. Utility conditions: there are no public utilities within either right-of-way. Evergy is the only private utility company that identified facilities within the rights-of-way. Both applications are requested to have the condition that the applicant shall retain all utility easements and protect facilities required by Evergy. With that, staff recommends approval with conditions of docket items number 1 and 2, and I can take any questions.
Okay, so really both of these projects are just cleanup of the master of the MPD, just to remove right of way that was dedicated and approved before. Now it's been a new plan that's been reapproved, so it's just cleaning up the actual document itself.
The final plat can't proceed to final recording until these are cleaned up.
Okay. Makes sense. All right. Any questions from the commission to the city staff?
No.
All right, let's welcome the applicant then. Good morning.
Good morning, Kevin Pinkowski with BHC, Civil Engineering and Surveying.
Anything else you'd like to add to the staff report there?
Would just like to get this cleaned up so we can move forward with the plat and get it recorded.
Okay. Any questions from the commission to the applicant? All right, let's go ahead and open it up for public testimony then. If anybody would like to speak regarding docket items number 1 and 2, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you will be called upon.
I'm promoting Lawrence Goldblatt to panelist.
Okay. Are there others that are in testimony online?
No, that's the only hand raised online.
Okay.
Mr. Goldblatt, you can unmute yourself and turn on your camera in order to provide testimony. Muted if you're speaking.
Does he have his camera on?
No, he doesn't have anything on. Mr. Goldblatt, you'll need to turn your camera on and turn on your microphone in order to give your testimony.
How much time we have left on the timer? Okay. Please.
Mr. Goldblatt, it looks like you've unmuted yourself, but we can't hear you if you're speaking.
We have about a minute left here of testimony, time for him. I think we've already accommodated as much as we can here to try to get here his testimony. With a big letter like this, I would think it'd have been in person, to discuss this. And so, apologize, we can't, his testimony. And there's nobody else online or anybody in person here wants to speak? Okay. I think at this point in time, I think we have no choice but go ahead and close testimony. Anything else you'd like to add? Mr. Pinkowski?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So with that, we'll close testimony then, speak amongst the commission. There's nothing to discuss. I'll take a motion, please.
And I'll just note for discussion that, glancing through this, there's nothing that makes me feel that we shouldn't go ahead with the vacation request. Some of these things happen from time to time. Some of this is about the timing of things. Some of it's about things that aren't really particular to the project at hand. So with that,
Go ahead.
I move to approve docket items 1 and 2 with conditions.
Second.
So I've got a motion and a second for approval of docket items 1 and 2. Any other discussion? Anybody else want to say anything? Because I just want to say from my standpoint, it sounds like the project has been approved. There's a previous master plan development. There's been an alternate development come through to override that one. And this is just simply cleaning up something that's already been approved, 2 different projects. So that's why I'm in favor of moving forward or approving these. Anybody else have any comments?
I would add that from the picture shown of the actual property, there's nothing that's outside of their property lines that is affected by the request of the vacation. That's where I am.
Okay.
Only
that's-
on their property. I don't see where it
Yeah.
affects anyone
point.
else.
Good point. Okay, so Margaret, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Beasley,
Aye.
Crawl,
Aye.
Enders.
Aye.
Hasek.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
All right, looks like the motion passes, and thank you for bringing that in, and good luck moving forward.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on with docket item number 3, please.
Docket item number 3 is case CD ROW 2025-6, a request to approve a vacation of public right-of-way in District R6 on about 1,120 square feet, generally located on the west side of the 1800 block of Mercer Street.
All right, good morning, Commissioners. Justin Smith, City Planning and Development Management Division. I just handed you a utility comment sheet that was received on Monday. They previously had Spectrum Charter's consent form. They got a new one confirming that they are okay without retaining an easement, and I'll explain a little further in my presentation. So in front of you is docket item number 3. This is a vacation of right-of-way for a previously approved project called Mercer Bluff. The site is located in the west side. Sorry about that. Okay, looks like we can see it online now. This project's located within the 4th District and the boundaries of the Greater Downtown Area Plan. Here's a closer look at the site. You can see it'll be on the west side of Mercer Street between 1804 and 1812. In the picture, you can see the 5 newly constructed homes. Ordinance number 210828 approved a development plan for the construction of these 5 houses that some of the commissioners might remember. The houses were constructed and completed after a final inspection. It found that each home was encroaching within the setback. I just want to highlight that there are no public or private facilities within this right-of-way. The alternative would be to seek variances for each of these homes, demolish them. The applicant has chose to proceed with a vacation. In my next slide here, I just want to highlight that the sidewalk will not be vacated. The gray highlighted area is a 7-foot wide strip to be vacated. In that yellow area are the sidewalks. So the applicant would request the removal of condition 1 after receiving the form that I just handed out. And the recommendation now is approval subject to conditions. If you were to remove that condition, it would just be approval. And I can answer any questions.
Just, I guess to clarify, so just vacating 7 feet is all this, so it'd be from the back side of the sidewalk into the property itself, such that the entryway okay.
That's correct.
And how did this come about again? What happened?
Mr. Riffle can confirm if I'm wrong, but I believe this was after a final inspection. They went to inspect them and found that all of these did not meet the front setback, and they were encroaching within that setback.
Oh, okay.
So was it designed, like, were the buildings built where they were supposed to be built, or was it a surveying issue, or, where was the mistake?
I mean,
Want me to answer that?
yeah, if you don't mind.
That's Commissioners, an unfortunate, inadvertent, I'd call it mistake. That's not very good English, but I think that's what it was. So the plan itself that was approved for the subdivision and the 5 houses, this complies with it, but the plan was incorrect on the location of the public right-of-way. So when the contractor started construction of the first house, so if you look at the photo, Commissioner, this is the southerly house, and we're looking north. Of course, Mercer, as you know, is a north-south street. And behind them is pretty tight. It's right up on the bluff where you overlook the west. I'm very familiar with that neighborhood for a lot of reasons. But anyway, the contractor went out, and because of slopes, drainage, a change in the there's a right, if you look, see how some would put a retaining wall to the south of it, but the grade changes substantially there. So he did the first house that complied with the plan, but was about 7 feet within the public right of way. And that house actually got a certificate of occupancy. So it has a C of O. This wasn't a final inspection. This was a final inspection on the third house where it was picked up. So it's unfortunate, but sometimes it's best to get lucky. And here's how lucky it was for all of us. We have all the consents of the owners. 4 of the 5 houses have been sold. We have all the consents without any condition of the utilities. There's no infrastructure located at all within that 7 feet. The sidewalk, which is pretty new, is ADA, because of the division, is ADA compliant. It's 5 feet. And not only that, but if we left it like it is, or say did an encroachment or whatever, the city will share liability with the homeowner on any third party that happens to get injured there. The developer is a well-known housing developer in the area that's
Sorry, I'm
marketed a
gonna
lot of
jump in.
housing.
I'm not overly concerned about the particulars
Yeah.
of the project. I don't see an issue with it
Okay.
as you outlined. I was just curious about where the mistake happened.
Yeah,
So you're
Pretty interesting.
so you're saying the mistake happened with the plans themselves, both the architect's plans that were submitted by the developer, and then the city did not catch it.
That's correct.
Got it. Thank you.
Yes, sir. That's a lot better said than I did.
You have the ability to pull up parcel viewer on your machine there?
Yeah.
I mean, I can see the issue with the, cleaning up the front, but I have another, just curiosity with parcel viewer, it looks like the lot lines are going right through the center of the units. So it might be just some of those phantom lot lines that I don't see. I call them a phantom lot line. If you look at the blue line, I'm assuming that's the lot line of the property itself, and it's going right through the center of some of those buildings. Am I missing
That would
something
be
there?
the driveway and the stairs. That the pinkish color would be the homes.
Right, but the blue line's going right through the center of the home.
Yeah, it could be when they map them. Are you talking the east-west line?
Yes. I think that must be
Yeah.
from the prior plan.
I think that would be a
Mr. Chair-
mapping error, and it's just
That's an error.
shifted.
It was replatted.
So all those lot lines are adjusted?
Yes, sir.
I just want to make sure we're not creating another problem.
So I believe it's when the planes fly over, sometimes the image is skewed a little bit, and so I'm not a professional with GIS, but the mapping can get skewed a little bit.
The same thing happening on the other side of the street. The lines going through houses over there too.
They're mainly on, I'm looking at my computer and I just am seeing some of the blue lot lines that are going in some of the housing.
Mhm.
So I don't know,
Yeah,
like I said, if there's a mapping error or some
This
other
is not
issue, but I
like
just,
survey level of accuracy, so we don't recommend people to
sure.
use it for that reason. So we do occasionally see some errors in parcel viewer.
Okay, just making sure. Because if the one error is made in the front, I mean, is
Right.
there one on the side there as well? So any questions from the commission to the applicant then?
So can we go back to the picture of the homes that you had up? So that gray area within the black line on the first house, is that how far back? we're
Can you share
talking
the
about?
screen up there?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That shows the area being vacated. Commissioner. Which is approximately 7 feet.
Yeah, that would be the area to be vacated. I would look more at this picture to see that this is the actual survey to confirm that the houses are within the boundaries. And then that would be the driveway and the stairs are kind of that encroachment with that 7 feet.
So you had made mention to something about the city liability and the homeowner's liability? I'm a bit confused because that takes up the lower portions of their stairs.
So, I'm actually, so there's, uh, Commissioner, how are you?
I'm good.
Good. So, I'm sorry. So
Okay.
there is, those new houses in North Plaza that were built, half of those, the stairs are in the right of way. That's an area where I do an old person's run, okay? Anyway, and the grade changes are there, and I don't know whether that had anything to do with a mistake here or there or whatever. But if the city left the stairway in the right of way and you buy a house, one of these houses, and you invite me to Christmas dinner and it's icy. And so I step on those steps, which are in the public right of way, and I slip and I break my hip and I'm hauled off to St. Luke's Hospital. I can guarantee you my attorney's going to sue the city. It's going to sue that deep pocket and you.
So that's what I was trying to clarify.
Yeah.
You were saying one of the reasons to vacate this would be because of that dual liability.
Yes, yes, ma'am, that's right.
Okay. I just was trying to confirm that, because
Yeah.
I heard it and I'm like, it didn't digest completely.
Yeah, I probably didn't say it clearly.
No, you did. It just didn't digest.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
All right, any other questions for the applicant? All right, with that, let's open it up for public testimony. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket item number 3, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you'll be called upon.
There are no hands raised on mine.
All right, we'll close public testimony then. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, sir, I'm finished.
Okay.
Unless there are other questions.
I guess I just have one question I had just thought of, but is there a established setback on these properties?
Let me pull up the development plan and confirm.
Anyway, the reason I'm asking is just because I'm thinking further into the future, if these houses are ever taken down and new houses put up in their place, the only thing that I could see that would really be an issue with this vacating the 7-foot area there is setback issues. But if there's a setback that's already established there, I don't see why this would be a problem. So.
In a typical R6 zoning district, it would be 25% of the lot depth with a maximum of 30 feet.
Which could be adjusted by a future development plan.
Sure.
What would have been required? What was provided?
Yep, so each has, they range from 7 to 10 feet in deviation. Typical would be a 20-foot setback on these.
Okay. That's all I needed to know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chair Crowley, you ready for a motion?
Yes.
I move to approve docket item number 3, removing condition number 1. Second.
I've got a motion and a second for approval of docket item number 3 with removal of condition 1. Margaret, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Beasley,
Aye.
Crowell,
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Hasek,
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
All right, looks like the motion passes then. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much.
All right, let's move on to docket item number 4, please.
Docket item number 4 is case CD CPC 2025-41. A request to approve a major amendment to a previously approved development plan, which also acts as a preliminary plat for Fairway Meat Market on about 1.7 acres, generally located at 1307 West 79th Street.
Austin is online. Okay. Not sharing. 1 second. One day I'm going to get used to Zoom. Okay, thank you. On Ananiski Development Management Division, this is case CD CPC 2025-41, and the applicant is seeking approval of a major amendment to a previously approved development plan to construct 2 new commercial buildings on the subject site. So the subject site is located in the southern, like Ward Parkway, Warnell area of Kansas City, Missouri. This is a close-up of the site highlighted in yellow, the main parcel at the intersection of Ward Parkway and 79th Street. And it also includes 3 of the smaller lots to the south. If you're used to this area and you're heading south towards Ward Parkway Mall, where the street kind of curves, this is the location of the subject site. The former commercial business McGonagall's was there. Now it's called Fairway Meat Market and is adjacent to an established residential neighborhood. So this is a look of the proposal provided by the applicant. So you can see the 2 new buildings that are straddling all of the sites with the internal parking lot in the middle. Now I'm going to show you a side by side of the 2 proposals. So the 1, 2, there's like a weird flashing message. I'm going to ignore that. Sorry. So we're showing the 2 side-by-side images of the plans. The one on my right is the originally approved one. So you can see that the buildings are a little bit smaller, and so is the parking and loading areas. So then the image to my left is the proposed one. The building to the north is roughly 5,500 square feet larger than originally proposed. And then the one to the south is also roughly 5,000 square feet larger than the originally proposed one, with the parking and loading area increasing around 24%. This is a look of the elevations of building 1, which is to the south. This is where the Fairway Meat Market will be located. So you see some images if you're standing in the parking lot looking at the building, and then the image on the bottom of the screen is if you are standing in Ward Parkway looking at the side of the building. And then this is of the building to the north. So this will be a tenant space for future retailers to go in. Again, the top image is if you're standing inside the parking lot, looking at the front facade, so you're looking north. And then the image on the bottom is if you're standing in Ward Parkway, looking at the side of the building. So now I'm going to go over the review criteria associated with the development plan. I'm going to go over the 3 that showcases city staff's recommendation. So first being review criteria A. And this talks about compliance with the zoning and development code and other policies or ordinances that the city has. We also take this opportunity to talk about alignment with the Kansas City Comprehensive Plan called the Casey's Barrett Playbook and any other area plans for the area. So there is a variance request that is going to be reviewed and associated with this project. That's of course reviewed by the Board of Zoning Adjustment. But if that variance is approved, then the project will comply with the Zoning and Development Code. I'll get more into that variance request in a second. And then the proposed project has received a low to medium alignment in terms of the area plan and the Casey's Barrett Playbook from the Long Range Planning Division. And this is in context to development context and other form guidelines that they have in those plans. And I'm going to go into some more information about that now. So first being the variance request. So the site is adjacent to a parkway, Ward Parkway, and that requires 33% transparency on that facade of the parkway. The code, and now I'm going to have to move this. This bar, excuse me, for Zoom. So the code defines transparency specifically as windows or doors that allow for clear views of the indoor spaces. So to qualify as transparent, these things cannot be mirrored or darkly tinted or any other material that's going to obscure the visibility, both a person standing outside looking in and inside looking out. So the applicant has requested a variance from this because they are physically providing the windows. You can see that highlighted in yellow, but they're using this the spandrel, this glass that does not allow you to see inside. So it's going to look like windows, but you won't be able to see in and out of it. And that is because they've, it's going to be a food and beverage retail store. These businesses have a lot of like back of house and products on display, such as their stuffed mushrooms, which I personally like a lot. Could be damaged by the sun, so that's why they're choosing not to request the variance from this requirement. However, again, the look will be of windows, but it won't function like a window. And now to get into the long-range planning alignment, as I mentioned before, this is about some of the design guidelines, which talks about, using historic buildings or, connection to the city, making sure that there's enough pedestrian connections to those points along the public right-of-way. And yes, the original building is, being demolished for these two new ones. That is the purpose of the development plan request. And so that's why they can't meet that point. But also along the same lines of why can't there be pedestrian connections, entrances, to Ward Parkway or the other street. There are plenty of sidewalks that wrap around the buildings. You can get from the parking lot and all the different streets, but why isn't there a physical entrance on those sides? And that again goes back to like that back of house, other functionalities that food and beverage retail sales have, where it doesn't make it practical to have a pedestrian entrance in the back of a grocery store, because that's where coolers are, that's where storage is, that's where the employees are working, as we see with other grocery stores. Now I'm going to go on to review criteria C, which talks about the vehicular ingress and egress on the site. And so we've got two access points, one off Ward Parkway and one off Mercer Street, which is to the east. And, we do acknowledge that the Mercer Street access point is very, very large. It's highlighted in yellow on my screen. You'll also be able to see it in the staff report. And this is to accommodate the semi-trailer traffic that is bringing the goods, to the grocery store. So the Real Rules can adequately back up and navigate this road. So though it's not, ideal to have this large of a access point on this residential street that abuts residential properties, the alternatives are 79th Street and Ward Parkway, which are also very busy from a vehicular standpoint, which is also not ideal for that type of loading traffic. We have review criteria G, which talks about landscaping or other buffers that may be needed to protect the site from or other properties, protecting their views or their negative influences of that use, if there are any. And again, this property is adjacent to an established residential neighborhood, so they have provided lots of landscaping and fences and other buffers, and wrapped a little bit of glazing around those buildings that are on the eastern side that face the residential property, so there isn't just a blank wall. and fences, all, in efforts to mitigate any negative influences that might happen from the commercial property onto the residential one. So here's a little diagram of that where I've circled in green all of the different trees and buffers of the dumpsters and the fence and the other bushes that are being used to help shield or enhance like the pedestrian feel of that side of the building from, for those residential properties. So thus, city staff, we recommend approval, subject to conditions. There is a condition that needs to be resolved prior to ordinance request that I know the development team is actively working on. And then these are just minor things that just need to be fixed with the plans. And then the variance will be reviewed next week at the BZA. That concludes my staff report. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the commissioners to city staff?
Yes. So the diagram you showed us and you said that it looks like windows, but it's not.
Mhm.
And then you mentioned docking, so that's the back of the building that's facing Ward Parkway.
Let me pull it back up. Okay, so for building one, this northern part of the building, that is the back of the building with the sides of the building along Ward Parkway.
So that diagram you showed us with the yellow around the windows, that's what we're talking about, right?
Where did that go?
Added, I don't know where it went. No, it's
No.
not it.
Right here.
That one.
This is the side of the building that faces Ward Parkway.
Okay, so that's what I was asking.
Mm-hmm.
So part of the
Yes, I apologize.
transparency requirement is not just for, look, I thought part of that is for safety elements.
Transparent windows also, can provide a sense of safety, being able to look in a building and seeing if anything's going on. Same for the users inside and out.
So my concern is safety. So if police was driving down, if there were activity going on, they couldn't look and see from the exterior that there was movement on the interior.
Correct.
Has that been addressed with the applicant on that?
Well, they're requesting the variance to the transparency portion of the boulevard standards because of the effect of the sun on products and the back of house stuff. They perceive it to be not very feasible to provide see-through windows. I'll let the applicant get more into it.
Okay. I'll wait.
They're online.
I'll wait, thank you. I have a habit of doing that, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Any other questions for city staff?
I have a few. Could you pull up the elevation of the second building on the east side? So I feel comfortable with the elevations on building one. Building two, the one that's the southernmost building, that's the one where, it's going to be replacing single-family homes with single-family homes across from it. So in some ways, I feel like that elevation is somewhat more important than others, or more important in this context because, controversial project originally with single-family homes all along this street, and now we're removing 3 of them. And that elevation to me seemed to not have a lot of detail to it, and I don't think the screening is going to be that sufficient. I think building one, that's a huge improvement from current existing conditions, and so I'm comfortable with that. But I'm curious if there's anything that you think, in your professional opinion, could be done to the east elevation of the southernmost building.
They're still loading.
And then on the south elevation also, I think that's, probably those 2 are the least inspired designs, and that's now going to be abutting a single family residence. To me, it doesn't feel like there's a lot of screening. So similar thought process there. that homeowner, I presume, depending upon when they bought the house knowing that they were insulated by multiple single-family homes that are no longer going to be there, and they're going to be looking at the back of a grocery store. So I'm curious about if you could, well, I'd like to see both those elevations and then see if there are any improvements that could be made.
Okay. I don't have the eastern elevation of the south building on my PowerPoint, so I can pull up the plans in Compass KC. So let me do that.
And then while you're doing that, you may be able to answer the other question. It appears that there will not be a loading dock at either location. Is that correct?
That is what's occurring on the eastern portion of those buildings, where you see the long drives next to each building. Those are the loading areas for the
But no
trucks.
loading dock. So it's
Oh.
just a back-in space, use a lift to get stuff up and down, I presume.
That is my assumption, yes.
Okay. And so okay, and so then there are doors at the back, and that's where they'll load for the grocery store, correct?
That is my assumption.
Okay. Cool, thanks.
Would you like to hear from the applicant?
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I'm curious what staff has to say about these elevations. So the one at the top of the screen is, again, like, imagine there are 3 single-family homes there, and that's what, and now we have that building. So I think that door at the far left of that elevation is I imagine the loading dock. I don't know what semi-traffic will be like there, but there isn't a lot of screening, and I'm just curious, the rest of the elevations, it seems like there's a lot of attention paid because they're on the boulevard, which makes sense. I'm just wondering if there are other ways to make that, to enhance that
Yeah.
side.
Yeah, and I do understand that, adding design features or adding extra windows for those back of the house areas is challenging, but you could have more tall trees, a more, aesthetic fence. Those are things that I personally think could be added.
And is that something that I mean, if it's within reason, and I guess that's actually the wrong side, so it would be the one below, it'd be the smaller one that's the east facing, the other one's the southern facing.
So they did add these 2 windows because we acknowledged that this is the facade that is going to be facing the residential properties across the street from Mercer. So there's also going to be a fence here, and there's some trees. It's layered between like this elevation and the landscaping plan, so you have to check both at the same time. So this was just blank. There was no windows. They added these 2 windows because we acknowledged that pedestrian experience needed to be better. But people can always add more trees.
Then the applicant might be better poised to answer this, but did you all get much pushback from neighbors?
Haven't received a single comment from the
Okay,
neighbors.
let's keep going, sorry.
Any other questions for city staff? All right, with that, let's welcome the applicant. Are they here?
They're online. Judd Clausen.
Okay.
Hi, this is Judd Clausen. There's other members of our team, architect and members of Fairway Stores that would like to promote, so they could also speak. Look for Andy Meyer, Kobe Pritchard, and Mark DeYoung.
So A. Meyer and M. DeYoung, and who was Pritchard?
Yeah, and
Okay.
Andy Meyer with Gastinger Walker, Kobe Pritchard with Fairway Stores, and Mark DeYoung with Fairway Stores, please. I think Kobe had some initial comments that he'd like to make, and then probably makes sense to have maybe Andy address some of the architectural questions that we got, specifically, you know, how the loading dock works and the windows and that type of thing.
Kobe with Fairway. Can everybody see and hear me real quick?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. First of all, I think we could just give a quick intro before we kind of dive into some detail here. First, we just want to say thank you. My name is Kobe Pritchard. I'm Director of Real Estate. We have, as I said, Mark Young on here. He's our Senior Director of Retail Design. And then we've got the full civil design team with Gastinger Walker. So we want to make sure to have everybody present and make sure we get everything answered. I can touch base on a couple of your questions here once I get through this. But just as an update intro, we just want to say thank you for this opportunity. I mean, it's crazy to think it's been 5 years since we opened up the Fairway Meat Market after our acquisition of McGonigle's, and we've always had these plans in place to upgrade the experience once we got into the Kansas City market, and we're at that point. And since that opening of McGonigle's into Fairway, we've also brought our standard meat market experience in North KC and also Olathe. So those are two really good examples to think about when trying to think about what we want to do here. This is obviously a little bit more complicated, and it took a little while to get here, but I think we're in a good spot to move forward. So thank you to this group for the opportunity, and we want to make sure we answer all questions. I'll touch base on one real quick. We did have our neighborhood meeting. We had a few attendees come, answered most of their questions. We've been dealing with the 3 tenants that obviously are vacating their home soon, which has been a good experience. We tried to give them months and months of notice, knowing that someday this was coming, and helped with their transition into wherever they're moving next. So those are all things we've kind of been working on as we got to this point. But thank you, and we'll take any questions as they come.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Andy Meyer. I'm with Gastinger Walker Architects, part of the design team. As Kobe mentioned, I'm here to address any kind of questions that would pertain to the design of the buildings. And then Judd Clausen is with us from Phelps Engineering to answer any kind of civil items.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and jump in with questions then. So on the southernmost building, again, I think there's really thoughtful design on this site, really unique site with where it is on a boulevard, part of a neighborhood, not really connected to commercial use except for a crossword parkway, which is a pretty wide span. And so again, I think you all were very thoughtful with the design of the northernmost building and very intentional about glazing when and where you could be. Just curious if there are easy changes, modifications, additions that you can add to the southernmost building on the south facade and the east facade just to enhance it a little bit more. As I scroll through your elevations, some of them really stand out as really thoughtful, and then those two just seem to fall a little bit more flat comparatively.
Yeah, I think we could address that. It is necessary. We do try to address the neighborhood there. I think one thing to note that maybe wasn't presented by Anna was the landscaping plan associated with that. I don't know if she can pull that up to show you, but we do have numerous amounts of new trees on the south side between the adjacent residential property to the south. Also on the east side there. There also will be a privacy fence between those. So those elements, I think, should be taken into account as part of the zoning requirements for the separation between the adjacent residential. As far as the back of the building, I think, we've added a few, I call that the south side. There are a few windows on that. And again, those are spandrel windows, but didn't think really adding additional windows was pertinent at this point in time. So we understand your comment, but hopefully that the back of the building with the lights and there's additional lighting on the back of the building for safety. And then see the 5 trees there to the south would really help kind of that buffer.
Okay, so the fence will be on just the south side of the property, I imagine, not on the east side.
There will be fence on the east side too.
Okay, so can you point out on that where the 6-foot fence will be on the east side?
Yep, this green mark roughly covers the 6-foot fence on the east side, and there's also the 6-foot fence on the south as well.
And then
And
also
there's a
to,
portion of the fence that will also be associated with the northern building as well.
correct. And so within the zoning, there's a buffer there between the parking areas, and that's heavily landscaped too. So we have addressed that on the east side.
Okay, sorry, I didn't fully understand the fence on the east side. So it'll be closer to the building than the street, and then the landscaping would be on the street side of the fence?
That's correct.
Just one more comment about the property owner that will be directly south. When we remove those 3 houses, that property owner has reached out and we've been in some discussion, and she had the same questions you guys have brought up about now that I'm going to be up next to the meat market, the 3 houses removed, and now I'm the one next to it. What are you going to do for the buffer and all of these things? So Andy laid into it pretty good, but adding that landscaping, having X amount of square feet from the property line plus the fence. We've relayed all this to her. We have not heard back if she's okay with that, but I'm hoping she is. But I just wanted the group to know that we've been in discussion with her too, just to kind of gather thoughts.
And so what's the setback from the southern property line? Since we didn't see any variances, I imagine it's just whatever standard is between commercial and
For
residential
the fence or for the building?
for
Okay,
the building.
okay, so the building is sitting right at a little over 20 feet north of the south property line.
Right. Okay. Okay. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So can I get you to confirm for me? Because we're looking at 2 different structures. Which one actually is housing the meat market and retail?
Sure. It's the building to the south, adjacent to the residential. And so just a little bit of, not getting too much into the detail here, but the sequencing of that was that building will be built first on the south after the 3 houses are demolished. That meat market will be up and running. Then the current meat market on the north parcel will be demoed.
And what's going into that new building?
That right now is just a retail spec space. They don't have any tenants for it at this point in time.
And on my questions on the windows, that's on the new meat market building?
Correct.
Okay. So I believe for the commissioners, did we not have a project up north? I believe Ms. Jensen was the attorney on that, where we were dealing with the same type of issue with transparency. I want to say it dealt with a Hy-Vee and their gas station that was closer to the boulevard. And they tried to work around a method where maybe the upper window could be transparent and still have the lower portion so that it was accommodating their needs. Anybody remember that?
Yep. I remember that. That was at,
It was on a parkway too, right?
yeah, it's on, North Oak and I think it's Shoal Creek Parkway, 108th Street up there on the northeast corner. The grocery store never did get built. It kind of died on the vine, but
Okay.
yeah, we had the same issue with a couple of outbuildings that were right on the parkway itself and, trying to have that transparency.
Okay. So it's not my example then because it died. Okay.
And it never got built, but
Okay.
Sorry, I was called out on the plan. What's the fence gonna look like?
The vinyl fence.
All right, what's a
It's
vinyl
gonna be a
fence?
white vinyl fence.
Let me pull it up.
Hang on.
Yeah, it's a weird site. I'm excited for this. I think it's going to be a big improvement. Just trying to think about those two borders of your property.
Understood.
I see a 6-foot tall solid screen vinyl fence.
Yeah.
Per the zoning recommendations, that's an option.
All right, thanks. I don't have any other questions.
Thank you.
Anybody else for the applicant?
Is there a reason we did vinyl and not the wood that you have on one of the other locations?
I'm not sure about the other location comment, but typically we look at those for more durability rather than having to go and restain those and have those fade.
Composite too. Yeah, it could be a faux.
Looking at your Olathe location fencing, just for reference.
Maybe that's the screening around part of the building that the wood was used.
I'll leave them to work that out further down the line. I was just looking at the other examples of what they've done in the area.
Okay, any other questions for the applicant this time? So let's go ahead and open it up for public comment. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket item number 4, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you'll be called upon.
We do not have any hands raised online.
Okay, we'll go ahead and close public testimony. Question I have, Anna, is about the building to the north. Is there, I mean, it's zone B11, so it's kind of opened up to whatever is within that zoning to be able to locate there.
Correct.
Okay. There's nothing else. Anything else to add from the applicant standpoint?
Nothing
Just to thank you, and we're looking forward to reinvesting into the market and the neighborhood and kind of bring this upgraded experience. So thank you, everybody.
Yeah, just from my standpoint, I hope that the building to the north with the tenants, you do something that, or try to look for tenants that complement the meat market versus first one that comes around, want to be there.
Put some work into that. Thank you. We're gonna make sure it's someone that complements us and not just Fairway, but the neighborhood, and hopefully bring some sort of service that fits in well with that area.
Sounds good. With that, I'll take a motion, please.
Chair Crowley, I move to approve docket item number 4 with conditions.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second for approval of docket item number 4. Margaret, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Beasley?
Aye.
Crowell?
Aye.
Enders?
Aye.
Passick?
Aye.
Halia?
Aye.
All right, looks like the motion passes. Let's move on to docket item 5, please.
Docket item number 5 is case CD CPC 2025-45, a request to approve a rezoning from District M2-3 to District R80 on about 25 acres generally located at 9500 Northwest Old Tiffany Springs Road.
All right, good morning again. Justin Smith, City Planning and Development Management Division. In front of you is case CD CPC 2025-45. This is a rezoning request located at 9500 Northwest Old Tiffany Springs Road. The site's located in the northwest corner of the city within the 1st District, within the boundaries of the KCIA area plan. You can see that it's located on the northwest corner of Northwest Old Tiffany Springs Road and North Amity Avenue. I'd just like to highlight the mix of zoning districts here. There's currently agriculture, residential to the west. There's a pretty intense M2 manufacturing district there. To the south, there's R80 and R6. But as you're looking down at the uses along Northwest Old Tiffany Springs Road At this location, it's primarily single-family residential. So I'm going to do this one first. Just a little background on this rezoning request. The applicant applied for a building permit and plan for a single-family home. That plan got approved. Later on, they realized that this was approved in error, and M2 zoning district does not allow for a single-family house. So they need to rezone in order to be allowed to build that single-family home. An at-risk permit has been issued while this rezoning request is going on, so they can start construction of the house to stay on schedule. So they're proposing to rezone this 25-acre property from M2-3 to R80. And then the future land use, the KCIA area plan recommends AGR or R80. Staff recommended R80. AGR requires a 40-acre minimum, so it wouldn't meet that threshold. And then this is a view looking north on Northwest Old Tiffany Springs Road. The single-family home is going to be somewhere around here, if you can see my cursor on the screen. And then here's a view looking west on North Amity Avenue. With that concludes my presentation, and staff recommends approval without conditions, and I can answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the commission to city staff?
Yes, Justin, you showed us the image that already has a home, but they're in the process of building an additional.
Yeah, so if you look at the site, there is 2 homes currently on the corner there, and this property wraps around them. So I just wanted to, if you see this plan right here, the new home is proposed to be kind of right in line with those 2 on the corner there.
Okay, so the way you were presenting it as a single family, I was thinking that was the first single family home. So we're going to have at least 3 in that 25-acre square that you're looking at?
No, that is already existing. The lot, it's just one 25-acre lot. There's 2 lots right on the corner that are 2 separate lots that
Oh,
already
single
have
lines, okay.
homes on them now. Does that answer your question?
So we're aiming to take the M2 off the others eventually? You were recommending not agricultural, but the R80 for the rest of that area?
Since the houses are already there, they're allowed. We're just looking at this individual request. I think the only way we would rezone that area is if the applicants or if the owners of the lot came in and requested to rezone it.
Okay, I'm gonna come back out of my rabbit hole.
Okay, sorry.
Any other questions for city staff? All right, with that, let's welcome the applicant then. The applicant
Would
available?
be Judd Clausen again.
I have Thomas Freeman from Star Homes.
Or yeah, I'm sorry, Thomas Freeman. I was thinking of the next case.
He's being promoted to panelist.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thomas Freeman, I'm the applicant for Jared Klein on here. He's also available. He is the property owner currently.
Okay, anything else you'd like to add to the city staff report?
Nope, we got everything approved and we're just waiting for this to hopefully go through as well.
Okay. Any questions from the commission to the applicant? All right, let's open it up for public testimony then. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket item number 5, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you'll be called upon.
There are no hands raised online.
Okay, we'll close public testimony then. Any other thoughts from the applicant? But doesn't sound like you have any. So anyways, I'll take a motion, please.
Chair Crowley, move to approve docket item number 5 without conditions.
Second. Motion and a second for approval of docket item number 5. Margaret, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Beasley,
Aye.
Crowell,
Aye.
Enders.
Aye.
Hassick.
Aye.
Pavia.
Aye.
All right, looks like the motion passes. Good luck as you move forward.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to docket item number 6, please.
Docket item number 6 is case CD SUP 2025-11, a request to approve a special use permit in District M1-5 to allow for outdoor warehousing on about 4.5 acres generally located approximately 350 feet east of the corner of Connecticut Avenue and North Topping Avenue.
Sounds like we got some construction work going on, right?
Sounds
Right
like
on
it.
time.
Okay. Good morning again. Justin Smith, City Planning and Development Management Division. Docket item.
Oh, there we go.
This will be docket item number 6. This is a special use permit to allow for outdoor warehousing, storage, and freight operation in a M1 zoning district. The subject site is located within the 4th District, within the Riverfront Industrial Area Plan, just east of I-35 and Front Street. So a closer look at the site, you can see I-435 and Front Street here. The site we'll be looking at today is just east of the corner of North Topping Avenue and Connecticut Avenue. The site plan proposes the construction of a 6,400 square foot warehouse and office building, and the establishment of an outdoor trucking storage area. So there will be 49 parking stalls. The storage area will be gravelled in accordance with 88-378 of the Zoning and Development Code. And then my next slide is a better reference. The drive approaches will be concrete, then everything behind there will be gravel. The site will be landscaped in accordance with 88-425. Street trees, interior and perimeter land use areas. A 6-foot fence has been provided around the storage area. I did want to highlight that this application will go to TDC next Monday, May 12th. They're proposing 40-foot curb cuts, which is over the required 24 feet. So that will be heard next Monday, and then it will go to the Board of Zoning Adjustment on the 14th. Here's the north and west elevation. The applicant did work with staff's recommendation of providing different design materials besides just metal panel building. So they are proposing a mix of brick and stucco, adding some additional windows that I'm sure the future workers will appreciate. Here's the east and south elevation. Once again, they added windows on the garage doors and some windows to add a little more of the design features on there. Here's just a view looking from Connecticut Avenue. And then staff would request that we add the following condition on here. A lighting plan was not added to the previous submittal. So we would request that a lighting plan be submitted prior to an issuance of certificate of occupancy. This would allow the project to move forward to the Board of Zoning Adjustment next week. And then that would conclude my presentation, and staff recommends approval with conditions.
Okay, any questions for city staff? All right, with that, let's welcome the applicant then.
Hi, this is Jed Clausen again with Phelps Engineering. There's also other members of our team that are available online as well. His name's David Eskoff, the architect. Saeed Salah with Transport Systems. They're the owners out of Dearborn, Michigan, and Jack Falcaray with the construction firm building the store. So With that, we don't have anything additional to add to the staff report. We are appreciative of staff support for the project and are here to answer any questions.
When you say truck storage, what does that mean? Is it like truck, tractor and trailer or?
Yeah, so it's just,
trailer?
so be overnight trailer parking and with the tractor for the trailers on site. This is really to add a Kansas City location to their Dearborn, Michigan operation. So they have a home base here in Kansas City as well now.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant? Commissioner Beasley?
Well, I was trying to remember, we're building the building, right? Or the building's already there?
It's going to be a new build.
Okay. How soon we plan on starting? What's your timeline?
Mr. Clausen, what's your timeline for the project?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question. We would like to finish up our entitlements here in the next month or two and then start construction here in the summer, late summer of this year, and have this project completed hopefully by the end of the year.
Oh, that's quick. Okay. Thank you.
All right, any other questions for the applicant? With that, let's open it up for public testimony. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket item number 6, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you will be called upon.
There are no hands raised online.
Okay, we'll close public testimony then. Anything else to discuss, Mr. Clausen?
Nothing further. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. With that, we'll close testimony and speak amongst the commission. If there's nothing to discuss, I'll take a motion.
Chair Carl, I move to approve docket item number 6, adding a condition requiring a lighting plan to be submitted and agreed upon prior to certificate of occupancy.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second for approval of docket item number 6 with the addition of the lighting plan to the conditions. Margaret, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Beasley,
Aye.
Crowell,
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Hasek,
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
All right, looks like the motion passes then. Thank you. And good luck.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to docket item 7. Everybody doing okay?
Mhm.
Okay, docket item number 7 is case CD SUP 2025-7, a request to approve a major amendment for an addition on 7.9 acres generally located at southwest corner of East 8th Street and Home Street.
Good morning. Give me just 1 second to find the PowerPoint. Sorry, my flash drive is not working. 1 second. As was just read into the docket, this is a special use permit for 8310 Holmes Road. And let me share my screen and I can officially start the presentation. Great. So the applicant is requesting an addition of 11,213 square feet to a previously approved special use permit. This is the subject property. It's located in the Waldo area. And then just a closer look at the site, and it was the site of the previous Benjamin Banneker Charter Elementary School. And then just another closer look, I'll highlight a couple changes to the site that will occur with this special use permit. The first is this westernmost parking lot along East 83rd Street that will be removed, and you'll see that highlighted on the plans, as well as this access point on Holmes Road, the southernmost point, that will also be removed. And so, as I was mentioning, this is the addition. It is connected by a hallway, and it's 11,213 square feet. The applicant is proposing an additional 70 new parking stalls, and you can see it's shaded in the darker gray. And that'll have a total of 147 parking stalls for the site. And then, as I mentioned, these two, the parking lot and the access will be removed. And the applicant did provide a landscaping plan in compliance with the zoning and development code. And they did work with staff to update their elevations. They are proposing EIFS, pre-finished metal panels, and brick. And so this east elevation is what you'll see off of Holmes Road. And then again, just those north and south elevations for the proposed addition. While it does meet or comply with all of these criteria, I did just want to highlight that there are no variances being required with this special use permit, and that while it is a larger building, there's already a larger building in the northeast corner, I believe, of the Robeson Middle School building, which is still there. So it is large, but there are other buildings that are also in existence, and the operating characteristics and hours of operation will be compatible with those of the existing church. So just a view from the corner of Holmes Road and East 83rd Street. And then this is the location of the addition. And the corner, or the view from the corner of Cherry Street and East 83rd, and you can see this is the parking lot that will be removed. The applicant did want to discuss condition number 6. Staff does typically put on an expiration date for special use permits. This one was for 3 years to give the neighborhood time to determine if the additional space would cause any negative impacts. The applicant would like this condition to either be extended or removed. And with that, staff is recommending approval with conditions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the commission to city staff?
I have a question, Larissa.
Mhm.
So there's a church already there, and this is just a extension. Is there a special use permit on the actual church?
So the church moved into the school building in 2007. They're typically allowed in the residential zoning districts, and so we're just making it a major amendment to kind of act as the whole special use permit.
That's a no?
Correct. There was a special use permit that was approved. I can't remember when.
2011.
2011. That one was also for this addition. It included the proposed addition, but that expired. So this will be acting as that new special use permit, or the most updated one.
But the original building does not have one.
From what I could find, no.
Thank you.
I have similar questions to the Fairway project. Could you pull up the elevations? Really prominent building, or it's prominent site because it sits up so much. And the west elevation, for sake of example, seems relatively simple. Is there any thought about adding extra architectural detail or anything else to add more interest? It feels like it's going to be a very, very large, it's going to have a large presence and it's going to be a large span.
Along all four sides or just the east elevation?
Sorry, the two screens are very different to view actually with the lines. And so I mean, any of the elevations that don't have as much detail. So the west
Okay.
elevation right now.
Okay, and this was, the applicant did update this east elevation to include more of that brick and those architectural features.
Okay.
Since this is not facing that right of way, we were comfortable moving forward with the materials provided.
I'll pull up the staff report again. Is that, so the east elevation, is that an update from the staff report?
No, this is updated after the first round of comments from staff.
Gotcha. What are the requirements for a building like this in terms of how often there has to be a break in the wall or extra different materiality, et cetera?
We don't currently have standards for that. We just have to work with the applicant to get what, as much architectural detailing as we can.
Okay, perhaps after we welcome the applicant, they can speak to it a little bit.
Good?
Yep.
Okay, sorry. Any other questions for city staff? All right, with that, let's welcome the applicant then. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is James Marshall. I'm the architect on the project. This is Wendell Tilbert, and he's the project manager for the church. And then Bishop Chavis is the pastor of the church. And I'd like to talk to you about the west elevation, I guess, first. If you look at the site plan, it's considerably, I don't have dimensions on this drawing here, but it's probably 150 feet, at least maybe 200 feet away from Cherry Street. It's a long ways from there. There is considerable landscaping that's been added to the site, and it's a church. Additional windows and things like that aren't really conducive to the atmosphere and the use of the sanctuary, which is right inside that west elevation there. And that's one of the reasons that it's designed the way it is. We have worked closely with the staff from the beginning of this. We had the building sitting a little bit closer to homes, just a few feet closer to homes, and we were asked to scoot it back so it was at least in alignment with the east elevation of homes. We did scoot that back and made adjustments to the interior to address the requirement for circulation between the two buildings. We have added a fire turnaround that hammer design that you see there on the south side of the property at the request of the fire department. We've done considerable. They were bringing in water line either from Holmes or 83rd Street and putting a fire hydrant in that the fire department's asked for. So we have tried to accommodate the requirements of the city. We've agreed to all of the conditions of the staff report, except the one thing regarding the special use permit for only 3 years. This church has been in existence. Dan, how long has this church been in existence? It was at
52 years.
How many?
52.
52 years. So we're looking to have them there 52 years more plus. Their original church was at 17th and Benton Plaza. Yes.
2901 Benton Plaza.
Yeah, and so it's been in the community for a long time, and we worked real hard. We started this project back in 2009, and all the economic events that happened since that time have really slowed the project down, but the church is really ready to get it going, and we'd like to get construction started as soon as possible.
All
Oh, I
right,
might
thank-
say one more thing about the original special use permit.
Yeah.
The building that was approved back in 2011 was actually larger than this building. It was a two-story building. This is a one-story building. It was around, I'd say 7,000 or 8,000 square feet more in area, but there was a special use permit approved with a larger building on this site.
Okay.
I guess my confusion is why do we need a special use permit and it's a church?
The special use, religious assembly requires a special use permit in the zoning district.
Since it's a residential zone, we have to get a special use permit for anything other than a residence, and a church is allowed in that type of zoning.
So we go back and forth every time we have one of these when it comes to length and how often. So that's where I'm like, it's a church, it's not going anywhere, so they're gonna have to come back how often to get this updated?
Yeah, we would like to have the requirement for the special use permit expiration to be basically indeterminate, just way down the line, unless the church changes into a different type of use, or they make another addition or whatever to the property, at which time they'd have to come back in for another approval.
I think we have the same confusion, so yeah, that's we'll figure it out though, but yeah.
Going back to the elevation, so both the south elevation and the west elevation, is it primarily just a cost prohibitive thing, or is it a design choice? And the reason I ask is I'm not a designer or an architect, but sometimes I'm really impressed with how people can create
Yeah,
interest without adding too much cost.
we have increased the cost considerably with the things that we've been asked to do already. And we do have a limited budget that we're trying to stay within, and that does play a part of the reason that it is. Now, if you wanted to see additional landscaping or something like that on the west side, to help screen that, we'd be happy to consider that. We do have a landscape plan that was submitted, which complies with the street trees and all of the planting requirements. And back to that drawing.
Yeah, I think that on the, just for sake of example, the south elevation, it's just a huge, I have a hard time imagining what those wall panels are going to look like. And so to me, it just feels like it's going to be a really big blank empty wall, which seems unfortunate. And so I don't know if it's even something that with, paint choice, whether you're trying to pull instead of adding brick to the bottom, or you're still trying to pull some of those lines around to add interest. I would appreciate extra thought being added to it. It just feels like it's going to be a huge space, and without understanding what the texture or finish of the wall looks like, I fear it could end up being unsightly when you're building a nice new expansion to the church.
I say something.
Yes, please do.
Mike over.
We purchased that property, I'm thinking somewhere around 2002. It was a disaster. The weeds and grass was almost up to your waist. The building was totally dilapidated, and our neighbors love us because we really improved the property in the area, and I think they'll be excited about anything that we're doing over there. They come over, walk their dogs, do whatever, 4th of July, all of that stuff on our property, and we have a great relationship. We're doing our best to stay within a budget. Things have just gotten out of control price-wise. So there will be improvements surely that we'll make down the line, but this This is a pretty nice project. I think it'd be a good addition to our area.
Yep, appreciate that. Don't mean to impose unnecessary costs on anyone, which is why I'm not requiring or saying how it would need to happen, but hopefully with, a creative team, y'all can at least contemplate different ways to add interest to that.
We're open for donations.
Can we go back to the east and west facade slides? Okay. That section that's almost like the three crosses, sort of billboard on the facade, does that correspond with any interior elements or spaces?
You mean the shape of it or?
Yeah, so like what I'm asking is does it correspond with like an internal sanctuary space, or is it just kind of free to move wherever it is on the
There
facade?
is a large sanctuary space behind that. There's right behind those crosses is where the baptistry is.
Okay.
And then there's the platform for the pastor and the band and the choir or whatever. And then the seating is all between the platform and that back wall, the west wall. And we have a little over 500 seating presently planned in that sanctuary. So it faces the east, which is, very important. We have the three crosses there, and the baptistry is just across. There are some deacons' offices and such right behind that cross, very small ones, but the baptistry is there, and then the sanctuary.
Okay. The only reason I ask is just what the only downside with the location of that on that facade is it is right behind two very beautiful but mature trees. And so I'm afraid that the idea is that, I can see where you want that to be seen from, what is this, Holmes Road, and that being shielded behind those trees, and I assume you're planning to keep the trees.
There's one tree that's going to have to come down.
Which one?
It's one of them on the east side. It should be on. There's actually two shown to be taken down on the civil plans, but we're not going to take down two. We have one that we're going to definitely save. We're going to put fencing around it, around the drip line and such as that. See where they are on the survey.
The only reason I ask is, and it's not something that I'd be willing to condition, but it would be a shame that it's a nice design feature. It would just be a shame to have that shielded behind the trees for however many years the tree is going to be around. So
these are huge old trees, and we realize that they block that view a little bit, but actually as you're traveling down the street and up the street, you can see it.
Okay.
So Matt just gave me a thought. Are those windows or are those actually structures, the crosses?
They're windows.
They are windows.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And we did check. Holmes Road is not a boulevard.
Okay.
So,
No, but I'm glad that they're windows.
yes,
I
they
think
are.
maybe I was thinking that and didn't ask until he brought it up. So I'm glad those are windows. Thank
They
you.
are windows.
That'll be pretty coming in.
Any other questions for the applicant? All right, let's open it up for any public testimony. If anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket item number 7, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you'll be called upon.
We have no hands raised online.
Okay, so we'll close public testimony then. Anything else you'd like to add at this point in time on this project?
We're ready to start construction as soon as we can get through the process.
We just thank you all.
Yep,
Yes.
understand.
We thank you for your time and your volunteers.
All right, with that, we'll close testimony and speak amongst the commission. If there's nothing to discuss, I'll take a motion, please.
Chair Crowley, move to approve docket item number 7. Well, actually, did we want to talk about the duration of the SUP?
I'll let Commissioner Beasley run that one.
So typically, I think we've been doing 5 years. We haven't gone out past that, have we?
Yeah, my opinion is we waive it as we,
Oh, I like that too.
I mean, they've been around and I think they're doing a great project here. They're adding to the neighborhood. I don't think they're going to go anywhere. If somebody else comes in, a different business or something, they're going to have to come in and talk about that. So that's my opinion.
I'm in favor.
Okay, I am as well.
Chair Crowley, move to approve docket item number 7 with the removal of condition number 6.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second for approval of docket item number 7 with the removal of condition 6 regarding the time of the SUP. Margaret, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Beasley?
Aye.
Crowell?
Aye.
Enders?
Aye.
Hassick?
Aye.
Padilla?
Aye.
Looks like the motion passes. Thank you very much, and
Thank you.
good luck as you move forward. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you very much. Appreciate it.
Get the lead. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
I apologize for my phone ringing earlier. Just turned off.
All right, ready for docket item? Can I take like just a couple minute break? I think like 5-minute break. We'll come back. Go ahead and set up and whatever you got to do. I think that'll be fine. So we're going to take, it's 11 o'clock. So by 11:10, we'll be back.
I feel like we've seen warehouses with a wall like that we wouldn't approve.
Yeah. Takes away from the creativity is what you're saying?
Well, I just hate like saying
Are you ready? I just haven't heard the recording in progress.
It's good. Yeah, we're recording.
Okay, all right, let's reconvene our meeting then, with docket item number.
Sorry.
Gosh,
Sorry.
you just wanted to hear it, didn't you?
No, I thought I was just clicking on my screen I
Okay.
got just the wrong spot.
All right, so docket item number 8, please.
Docket item number 8 is case CD CPC 2025-35, a request to approve a development plan allowing multiple 6-unit residential buildings on about 1.97 acres, generally located at 20 West Linwood Boulevard.
Morning, Commissioners. Genevieve Kahn in Development Management Division. As mentioned, docket item 8 is for a residential development plan at 20 West Linwood Boulevard. The site is generally located south of downtown and within the main corridor overlay. Am I not sharing? Thank you. And here is a closer up view of the site, highlighted in yellow. As I mentioned, it is within the main corridor overlay, which is this gold line that is around Main Street. And the site is zoned B4-5, which allows residential uses. And because there are multiple buildings on this one lot and exceeding 50 units, the applicant is going through the development plan process. They are proposing 10 colonnade-inspired buildings, each with 6 units. So there'll be 60 total units on the site. Each building will be 3 stories tall and 82 parking spaces to accommodate those units. And then the landscape plan just showing some of the buffering along the parking areas on the east side, and then of course along the boulevard. And then the building elevations, some elements of note are the Juliet balconies, which is a requirement of the Main Street overlay, as well as some decorative fencing between the buildings along the boulevard to create a more consistent frontage along the street. And then building materials include brick veneer on the ground floor and fiber cement paneling on the upper floors. And then the side and rear elevations utilizing the same materials. And then some street view images of the subject site. Used to be the location of a funeral home that was torn down 2 years ago, I think. And so now it's just the empty lot with the parking lot. It's still there. And then this is looking right towards the site. And the proposed plan will utilize some of the existing curb cuts. And then staff is recommending approval with conditions. One of those conditions is that the plans be heard at the Board of Zoning Adjustment hearing, which is happening next week, for a variance to the required floor area ratio. This property is located in a transit node as identified by the Main Street overlay, and so it requires a floor area ratio of 1. They are just under that at about 0.72, I think. So they're seeking a variance to that. And then once that is approved, they will move forward for council approval. But all those conditions are in place and staff is recommending approval subject to the conditions in the staff report. And I can take any questions.
Any questions from the commission?
Can I clarify one thing? I know we mentioned former site of the funeral home. So this is not going to the corner for the former car dealership?
Correct. The car dealership will remain as is on the corner.
Yeah, I just wanted to confirm how. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, with that, let's welcome the applicant then.
Good morning. David Rezak with Van Trust Real Estate. I'm joined today to my right, Scott Roseman with Roseman Architects. To my left, Christina Fenwick. She's with our nonprofit. I'm going to let her speak in a second. And then Doug Ubin with Phelps Engineering is here as well to answer any questions you may have. The one thing I will add is we're really excited about this development. These 60 units really represent our pursuit to provide workforce and affordable housing in this area. And Christina can talk a little bit about that. But each one of these 60 units is a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. And so we feel this is, from a scale and perspective of the neighborhood, that this development will fit right in. And we've had great conversations with neighborhood groups. We've got a letter of support from Midtown KC Now. And like I said, our neighborhood meeting was very positive and got a lot of support. So thank you for hearing this today. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Christina to talk about our nonprofit.
All right, thank you. Good morning. I'll keep this brief, but just wanted to introduce the organization that will ultimately own and operate this property. Like David said, we are a brand new housing nonprofit to Kansas City that is being capitalized by Van Trust and the Van Tile family. And our focus is really to preserve and create more affordable and workforce units in our city. And so Linwood and Maine falls right into that. Van Trust is acting as our developer. There will be affordable and workforce rents, and that's kind of our goal. We hope to do that with a lot of different housing types, single family for ownership, multifamily for rent, and kind of address affordability across the housing continuum. So excited that Linwood and Maine is one of our first ground up projects. And it will be a mix of affordable and workforce in proximity to Hospital Hill, kind of geared toward that healthcare worker. So thank you.
Which organization name?
Still working on that. We are officially the Greater Kansas City Homeownership Initiative. Our mission has expanded beyond just home ownership and really focusing on kind of that entire housing continuum. So we are under branding and marketing for a name. Should be rolling out soon.
Okay.
And you said you're new to the city? Is that what you said?
I'm not new to the city. This is a new organization to Kansas City. So I started at this organization in December. So
how new is it?
I'm one of the first 2 staff that started in December of 2024. So
We got our 501c3 status about a month and a half ago.
Yeah.
So it's a very new venture and we're very excited about it.
So you're saying workforce and affordable. What price points are you looking at?
the affordable units will be at 60% AMI, and the workforce units are going to range between that 60% and 100% AMI.
Give me a dollar amount on that.
That is a good question.
And like I said, each one of the 60 units is a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, but the 60% AMI I think is around $1,400 a month.
So should I assume that these will be all electric?
Yeah, that number includes electric, gas, and water.
Oh, so you're not going to make them all electric? Most of them have been coming to us and their utility base is electric.
Right. Go ahead, Scott.
Sure. Good morning. This is Scott Roseman with Roseman and Associates. That decision is not yet finalized. So we're hearing a lot of feedback from the construction industry with concerns about appliances and specifically HVAC equipment and what the availability and cost of those units are going to be in 8 or 10 months when they're delivered to this project with the timing that we're looking at now. And so we're still evaluating that decision. There is a possibility that the HVAC units will be gas, and there is a strong possibility that they will stay all electric.
Thank you. So my next question is usually timeline from beginning construction to completion. What's your timeline look like?
We've been told Titan Construction is our contractor, and they're telling us it's a 12 to 13-month construction duration. We're hoping to get through the entitlement process and get our construction permit here later this summer and begin construction. So call it 13 months after that to deliver all the product.
And what is your anticipated square footage for each unit?
Each one of the two-bedroom, two-bath, all 60 units is about 868 square feet per unit. And as Genevieve said, they're three-story walk-up, so there's no elevators. Each one of those two-bedroom, two-bath is basically a flat, so there's 2 on the first floor, 2 on the second floor, and 2 on the third floor. 6 units per building, 10 buildings total for the 60 units.
I noticed the upper floors have balconies on the front.
So the upper 2 floors have the Juliet balconies, the second and the third floor.
Is there gonna be requirements for renters? Like, do they need to meet some criteria to rent these units?
For the affordable units, yeah, the ones that are dedicated affordable at 60% AMI, they'll have to meet the income requirement to lease those units.
Have a number of how many units that'll be?
That's going to be 15% of the building, I believe.
Yeah, the 60.
15% of the 60 units, yeah.
15? So like only like 5?
Nine.
Nine.
9 of the 60 will be the 60% AMI
And the rest are gonna be regular rent.
workforce.
Workforce. So workforce is typically defined anywhere from 60 or 80% AMI up to 120. Because we're a nonprofit, we would like to stay between that 60 and 100. But we have to break even. We have to make sure the property can sustain itself. So our hope is that these will be a blend below 100% AMI. The target is really more 70 to 75% AMI on those other units. That's, the mission of the nonprofit and kind of self-governed by what we are here to do. So that's our target.
Give me your name one more time.
Christina Fenwick.
Oh, I'm sorry, Christine. I wasn't playing enough. The nonprofit.
Oh, the nonprofit name is harder. Greater Kansas City Homeownership Initiative, but we are undergoing branding to do business as another name, so that will be rolling out soon.
What other names you looking at?
I'm not going to share that here.
Oh, okay.
Hopefully it's in the news soon.
Any other questions for the applicant? I was kind of curious on the parking. You've got 60 units, but 80 some spaces. 2? Just might have a lot more. That's 22 extra spaces.
You're on the streetcar line.
There,
Because like I said, every one of our 60 units is 2-bedroom. So that's basically 1.3 cars per 2-bedroom apartment. So we really, all of our studies and talking to our lender, that's really kind of the ratio that we need to be for those 2-bedroom apartments, 1.3.
So don't get me wrong. I'm glad to hear you've got overflow for visitors and stuff. But typically they come in wanting to have lesser parking requirements, especially when it's by the
Big car.
Yes, and that's something that we considered carefully. In our neighborhood meeting, one of course, the biggest comments that we heard was that the strong opposition to parking that overflows the development into the neighborhood streets. And so that played into the decision for the parking count as it is. And we also understand, in looking at the Linwood Boulevard and some of the future boulevard plans that the city has completed on other parts of the neighborhood, the 31st Street redevelopment, the street parking is going to be reduced and or eliminated. And so we didn't want to have to rely on that for any parking either. And so kind of all of those reasons combined led us to the parking count that we're at.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant? With that, let's move to public testimony. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket item number 8, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you will be called upon.
There are no hands raised online.
Okay. Mr. Open, you want to speak or you good? Okay. All right, with that, we'll close public testimony then. Anything else you'd like to add at this point in time?
No, thank you.
Okay. All right, with that, we'll close testimony and speak amongst the commission. If there's nothing to discuss, I'll take a motion, please.
Go ahead and make a motion to approve docket item number 8 with conditions stated.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second for approval of docket item number 8. Margaret, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Beasley,
Aye.
Prowl,
Aye.
Hassick,
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Looks like the motion passes then. Thank you very much.
Thank
Good
you.
luck.
you.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. So we're done with our docketed items, except for Spirit Playbook update.
Yes, additional discussion. So
Good morning.
I like the parking though.
Yeah, I understand.
I'll tell you the rest later.
Good morning, commissioners.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Jennifer Reinhardt. I'm a lead planner with City Planning Development, also the Playbook Implementation Manager for the Comprehensive Plan. I'm joined this morning by
Hi, I'm Cindy Trevisano. I'm also in Community Planning Division, and I'm the urban designer.
Thank you for
Well,
having us here today.
Apologize, you don't have a bigger crowd of us here today.
We can come back. No, we're happy to be here for you today, and if you would like us to come back for the larger group, and we'll spend some time getting your input on this specific stuff we're going to share today. As you may know, I was here, a couple months ago, sharing some of the implementation priorities of the comprehensive plan or the KC Spirit Playbook. One of those priorities was to develop illustrated guidelines for the type of development we want to see citywide in the city. And we've been working on that since we both started our new roles for about 6 months. So internally, we've had some conversations. And so we're here today to share briefly what we've been working on, get some initial input, and then we can discuss next steps and what that project looks like moving forward.
Okay.
So with that being said, one of the things that we've had to.
Your other one's not on the screen.
Yeah, you're not fully sharing right now.
Uh-oh. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm doing it
Give it
wrong.
a second. Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
here comes Alec.
Thank you. Okay.
Sometimes it's like me, a little slow.
And so while we were sitting in the corner, watching some of the previous cases and listening to your deliberations, a lot of the current staff analysis is taking into what is the appropriate context for development. And it looks differently in different parts of the city. And so we've been wanting to create these illustrated guidelines that will be useful, whether they're used by future development on Berry Road or more in the urban core. And so we've come to the term place type that we'd like to talk to you today, what that means and what that might look like for Kansas City. And looking at the components of what context is, similar to the current residential infill and development standards that you use, and the definition is to the 200-foot radius and that definition of context. We're looking at going a little bit deeper and defining that a little more clearer to have the specific guidance in our guidelines. So looking at the range of street types in these different areas, the different land uses, different neighborhood character, the look and feel and different context of an area, really different components of what makes these places look different across the city. We've started to look at the existing development patterns of the city. So as the city grew, from the urban core and throughout the years, and again, what are the components of that with the street, the different locations and size of buildings, the density of land use, how the different mobility options. And going into a deeper analysis, we can see that there is a difference in the types of residential housing, the types of lot size, what we mean by the urban core as opposed to the other areas. And so we have taken all of our findings to that, and we're moving forward with a place type approach. So creating guidelines that look at that existing surrounding context and character, take into account how the new development would be appropriate within that existing context, while also giving guidance for what we want to see in the next 20 years as this area grows. And simplifying the approach, making the category of these place types more flexible. We're combining some existing analysis that staff uses, looking at the development form, the context, and future land use, but having them in this broader place type category, this larger geographic area that has more uses for the future. And how we see this being used, again, it will be in the comprehensive plan. It will be used as a tool both for developers and the community to know what these what the desired growth in these areas look like, more like a menu of options. And then during the specific area plan updates, more specific guidelines would be developed and defined and potentially lead to upcoming zoning code updates in the future. And we've looked at how other cities have done this, how other cities have taken place types and successfully adopted them in their planning efforts. And we are adapting that to a specific Kansas City, what'll work here, what is going to be our approach, what makes sense for Kansas City contexts. And so
surprised to see Springfield, Missouri on there.
so were we. And so with that, just a very brief, again, we'll open it up for your questions. We're going to share our current approach and the current potential place types for Kansas City. And so in the next coming slides, if you want to give some thoughts to what you think about us using this place type approach, as we develop the guidelines, if there's specific information you want to be sure to be included, and then again, how you might want us or to engage with this process moving forward. Again, this is very preliminary. This is initial conversation. We're about to go into the community, develop it further. And so how much and at what point you would like us to come back, we are open to your recommendations. And with that, I'll turn it over to Cindy.
So we'll look at the array of place types, their draft place types for Kansas City. We have them kind of broken down into a few groups. We have neighborhoods, centers, and areas. So starting with neighborhoods, they're arranged here from lowest to highest in terms of development scale and intensity. These are primarily residential areas. However, they include compatible uses and amenities, such as neighborhood parks and schools, to support complete communities. So on the left, neighborhood 1 is kind of your lowest density, more rural in character neighborhoods, and these are kind of located in the outer areas of the city. And neighborhood 2 is more of the traditional subdivision type of neighborhood. There's also a park here shown as an example. Neighborhood parks will be included in all of the neighborhoods, as I mentioned. And they might look a little bit different and have different character depending on the neighborhood type. In neighborhood 3, we have kind of some more middle housing options, including townhomes and walk-ups. And You'll see these in some neighborhood 3 in some of the historic neighborhoods. So that's where you have, some colonnade apartments kind of tucked in with single family on more compact blocks, an occasional corner store potentially. And in neighborhood 4, it's kind of our highest density, mostly multifamily. We have the largest buildings, and these are kind of the concentrations of that density. So they might occur on corridors or in clusters. For example, the top image being the Armour Boulevard high density apartments. So then in centers, these are the concentrations of goods and services throughout the city. And centers, they complement the neighborhoods. So that relationship of the centers and the neighborhoods is really important to continue to build a connected city. So we again have a range of scales and character across the different centers, moving from left to right. In our local center and community center, these both meet daily and weekly needs of residents at sort of different scales. So in the local center, these local centers are typically kind of embedded into neighborhoods at sort of a similar or compatible scale to the neighborhood, and they serve that local area. An example might be Crestwood Shops. And then the community center is slightly larger in scale. It's a little bit more prominently located on major streets and has a draw from a greater area. So this might be Westport or Zona Rosa. And then business center. So this is draws from an even larger area, and these are along major arterial corridors and highways. So it's naturally a little bit more auto-oriented. These are larger clusters of commercial and include larger format commercial types. These are also employment areas, potentially office parks can be located here. And finally, regional center. This is where we have the greatest intensity of development, the most diversity of uses. So in regional centers, they respond to regional demands and kind of have a greater regional draw, including employment, entertainment, residential as well. There's more transportation mobility options in the regional center. So this is clearly downtown is an example, but it's not limited to our downtown. And then we have areas. So the first is Innovation Flex. And as the name sort of implies, this is a flexible area where we have a vibrant mix of uses and options for how this can develop kind of per the area. These might be sort of post-industrial areas like West Bottoms, but the intention is to have to activate these light industrial uses like a brewery, for example, activate them with other complementary uses, including residential and other kind of entertainment options. And these are great opportunities for adaptive reuse. And then manufacturing and logistics. These are the employment areas that include large format uses, some industrial uses, of course, larger processing facilities and sites, including sites like airport facilities as well. And finally, we have parks and preserves. And as I mentioned, neighborhood parks and pocket parks, those smaller types, those are included in all of our neighborhoods and potentially could be in centers as well. So parks and preserves as a category is more for larger designated and protected open space and kind of your regional parks, such as Swope Park and other environmentally sensitive areas. So how does this all fit together and lead us to urban design guidelines? We have this whole array of place types, and each of them, as we mentioned, has its own character and kind of guidelines for development and how to achieve, the community's vision for their place. So within each place type, several guidelines, and we want to make sure those are illustrated to give an idea of how this really could work and how these guidelines can be executed. So just an example, within our place type chapter, we could look at local center. And we could look at a category of guidelines that is building edges and frontage. So that might include how to design at a human scale, what are active uses on the ground floor, how to activate these buildings. And we could illustrate that at a variety of scales.
So ultimately, we want these guidelines to be user-friendly. We also want them to complement existing policies that are in place. So to complement the development code, to complement the streets design guide. We're talking with Public Works as they update the major street plan for their new categories. And so when these, so where you would find these once they have gone through and been adopted, it would be a part of the playbook. So a supplement to the playbook, again, looking at the citywide place types that then during the area plan process would be further defined for the specific neighborhoods and specific areas. Again, in the staff report, so to help with the current case reviews and staff analysis, but also to help developers have, again, that user-friendly, very visual, very flexible guideline of what we're looking for in these place types. And so you would see that to assist with your recommendation and analysis of these case reviews. And then finally, eventually, once these place types are adopted, it would be found in a place such as Parcel Viewer, so people would know, where those places are and what it would be. Again, the anticipated future development for that area in the next 20 years. So with that, we can pause. And we're curious if you have any initial thoughts you'd like to share, any recommendations for moving forward. We're really open to answer any questions you may have at this point, and we can go back to other slides for additional looking at.
So I think some of the area plans are starting to be redone. And one of the things we talked about at the KCI area plan is location of little nodes of commercial, retail kind of space to support residential that's being built up there, or even manufacturing in that. So how do we incorporate this into those area plans, I think, is really the first question, making sure that we add that and locating them, what's close enough and what's too far, and how do we place them or make a spot for them? I mean, I'm assuming we want to put them at intersections that are, have a lot of traffic or whatever, like in the arterials or intersections of parkways or something like that. So just curious on putting them in the right spot.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So during the area plan updates, staff and the community would work together to look at the map and figure out where those designations would go and what they would look like. So that would be part of the updates. And we're talking internally of what that looks like is, we refine this process while current, KCI and Truman Plaza are ongoing. But the idea is this is a land use planning tool that would be used as part of that future growth scenarios and talking with the community of what they want. And so the specific nodes and place types would end up on that map for that area plan.
And then are you part of now the pre-application meeting and to kind of talk through some of this, or do you look at some of that stuff prior to the actual meeting itself?
Well, we are as we develop this, we're meeting with, DMD staff, our staff, so of how this would work in that application process. I think us specifically as staff, we're, if we're called into those meetings for specific cases, but as we develop this, we are taking input from staff of how this would be used for, specific development proposals they either are working on or could work on in the future, and how this would best assist them.
Okay. Any questions by any of the other commissioners this time?
I'm completely confused.
Okay.
Go back to the, where you started off.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at that too. But then you went to the next one with the neighborhood types.
Oh, with the visuals, this one? Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to tie the neighborhood types to the next presentation you did on the, did you call them?
Oh, the centers.
Centers.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, this is not fitting. If I look at my area, and it just so happens I am doing the Truman Plaza
Mhm.
area plan, I don't know where I would fit these centers with our neighborhood types. We don't have that.
So, so for Truman Plaza, we're using the word, neighborhood to be broader than just, residential uses. So looking at neighborhood parks, neighborhood schools, and then, so the idea is the centers would be, is 31st and Troost in Truman
No, it's
Plaza?
not.
Or what's but there would, so a local center would be like a commercial node
Let me
that
give you the
is,
boundaries. So Cliff Drive or the Independence Plaza plan is
Mhm.
going up to Cliff Drive, down to I-70, Paseo on the west, and I think all the way to 435 on the east.
Mhm.
So you're encompassing the northeast area as well as, well, part of Blue Valley neighborhood is involved in that as well. So you kind of curve around and pick them up at 23rd and over to 435.
Mhm.
I don't visualize any of these centers in that area.
So there's a range of ways that the development could look. And, we started off with slides that had tons more of visuals for each group. So we tried to sort of summarize each one with 2 images. But for example, for a local center, it may be a completely different character. It may there may be just single story individual shops in a cluster. It could be like we have a or a mixed use building shown here, but it's really some of this infrastructure already exists and just needs to kind of be established as the center. So there's other areas that may not be there yet, and the community will point us toward areas that they kind of see they want to develop to be this local center.
So I don't
Does
want
that
you to
help at
think
all?
I got hung up on the visual that you have.
Okay.
I didn't. I was listening to what you were describing would be in that area. When you talked about the community center, your visual didn't match up with your example of Westport. To me, Westport would be more of an entertainment, which we've always called it. So how would we change that to a community center?
The community center could include entertainment type uses, bars, restaurants, retail, residential could be included. So it's about the daily, weekly needs and uses, commercial mixed with residential, potential, options for small healthcare kind of clinics, and that those all coming together in what we call community center. And it's sort of up to the individual for each area plan. It might look a little different.
Here's what I just broke down or what I heard you saying. Forcing there can be a mix of all 4 of these within your neighborhood plan,
Mm-hmm.
as well as a mix of all 4 of the neighborhood types.
Correct.
Probably not in all cases with the neighborhood types.
That's true.
I'd say there's a lot more density, obviously, south of the river than there is north of the river. We're going to have up there more of the 1s and 2s than we are 3s, frankly.
So we see these as kind of a menu of options for the community. And one of the early kind of steps of that planning process would be determining which place types are applicable for each area as kind of your short list, and then starting to identify exactly what that looks like for that community. So some of them may include only residential and choose to not include some of the complementary uses. And that's part of the discussion that happens during the area planning process.
Can you go back to the slide that showed the cities that are using this concept for me? Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Okay.
No, I need to digest some stuff.
And we'll make sure as we build these guidelines and we have the table of contents, we'll have a chapter on what this looks like for how to apply it to the map, how to work with the area plan process, what the criteria to use for these different place types. Because for example, one might be, if there's maybe an existing commercial corridor or community center, but the vision in 20 years maybe is to grow or become more of a regional destination, or, so what that'll be part of this. In addition to the visuals and the illustrated guidance, it will be how it's used by staff or also the community for how to use those categories to describe what is desired.
So Cindy, I didn't pay attention to which center you had mentioned the example of Swope Park in.
Yeah, that's in Parks and
And Reserves,
Preserves.
okay. So that would take in Cliff Drive and Kessler Park would fall under that type of observations.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Whereas a smaller pocket park or neighborhood park might be more appropriate in these neighborhood categories and not the larger open space categories.
So like small businesses will be on like local center.
Potentially,
Like-
or maybe if there's more of that density of the small businesses for a larger strip, maybe the community center. And we're not saying, no small businesses in business center or regional center. It's more of, how many, the scale.
Right.
Yeah,
Can you go to the next one, please?
this way
Yeah.
or the other way. Yep.
So, and can you repeat again what's innovation and flex?
In Innovation Flex, it's a mixed use, more flexible area where I mentioned it could be kind of a redeveloped industrial areas such as West Bottoms. They are sites that could include, the top image is sort of like a creative office campus, light industrial kind of maker type uses, including like a brewery or, furniture making studios, that kind of thing, where you do have a lot of people wanting to come to the site and shop and
So it can only be one or the other. So for example, the West Bottoms, it can only be an area, or it can be, if you go to the previous one, regional center.
And
It
that's
can be
like, I
both.
think it could be, but well, different parts of the West Bottoms could have those different. So it's not just one neighborhood is one thing. It would be a potential collect or multiple of these in those different areas. So in the West Bottoms, yeah, maybe there's part of that with
Or
more
the
the small
camper arena or something like
Mhm,
that. Let's say like it develops into like more regional thing, right?
Yeah,
Or-
yeah, potentially, yeah.
Okay.
I think with these place types, we're broadening it from, parcel-based designations to looking at a place more as a whole, and so a broader area of how these elements interact instead of, residential use on this specific site or commercial use or industrial use. It's looking at that blend and that character. And we'll develop guidelines that also take into account the neighborhood context.
Saying zoning could change?
Well, the idea would be if we do want to make changes to the zoning code, this would be the blueprint of, the desired places that we want. And so the amendments to the zoning would ideally align with that future vision. and the future, it's part of the playbook. So, aligning the zoning with the recommendations from the comprehensive plan. But that would be a whole, a very involved, separate effort that we're not,
When they
yeah.
redid the zoning, that was my first entrance into commissions and stuff. I'm like, oh Lord, what is it? That was a cumbersome process.
But we hope if we start this process and these conversations, so we come to a consensus as a city of these place types, hopefully it would help should we open the zoning code in the future.
Your first presentation, you got more to bring us?
You'd like.
We see you all as some of the primary users of the guidelines, so your input is really valuable. And if you want to be involved during this creation process, then we're more than happy to have any kind of session. So we're curious how you would like to be engaged.
At a minimum, once we, are at the end of the guidelines and we're looking to adopt them as part of the playbook, we would be coming before you as part of that process. So it's, as Cindy mentioned, as we're in this creation stage, to best get your input along before we get to that end stage.
Sounds like an opportunity to volunteer.
I think I will address them during the Truman Plaza area plan meetings. I think we'll put it on that part of the plate.
Isn't these case studies that you mentioned, they're online? Like we can go and check them out? Or?
Well, they're on each city's individual websites, but we could also look at maybe pulling together, like a memo or, that pulls our findings. So it's easier to find on our website.
They do all use the term place type, so they're kind of easily searchable.
Right.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, so if I can go and research a little bit more.
Yeah. It's in their comprehensive plan page on those cities' websites.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there a way to share your presentation or not? Maybe that'll help out a little bit.
Well, and also to digest or,
Sure.
this was a lot.
Yeah,
of
there's a lot,
information. Yeah. So we'll share the slides.
And we can
and-
circulate that to you all, and so that our members who aren't here can also get it. And if you have further comments for Jennifer and Cindy or questions, I'm happy to be a go-between if needed.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Anything else to come before the commission? I do have a question. Did you get good responses on your survey? And did you get good results out of your survey?
On the staff report survey,
Yes.
we did some good responses. One of the things we heard was that you all, there's nothing that you thought we needed to put less of in the staff report, and lots of opinions about what there might need to be more of. So we do appreciate your comments. We've worked more on the BZA staff report, to be honest. Like if you were a BZA member, you would have noticed bigger changes. For CPC, we're really focused more on providing you with more comprehensive information and not major changes to the format or layout. So always happy if you have any further comments, but you'll probably see minor tweaks as we continue to work on that.
Okay, very good. All right. Motion to adjourn.
Moved.